Rivian just released explosive earnings results. Let's get to it. So yeah, after hours, Rivian closed down 2% after their earnings results, which is the Q2 2024 earnings results. Oh, by the way, Shamal says to like and subscribe. So yeah, what was expected going into this earnings report? Rivian to release critical Q2 earnings. Here's what to expect. So yeah, they had a slowdown in the second quarter from the previous quarter in production, which is expected. Here's what Rivian is doing. Rivian is actually retooling their factory in this last quarter. In Q2, Rivian retooled their Illinois factory to make it more cost efficient, to make it significantly more cost efficient. They actually reduced gross costs per vehicle, COGS per vehicle, were reduced by 33% with these upgrades. These were a critical move for Rivian. And if anything, they should have done this move earlier, but better late than never, right? And actually, as a result of the 33% reduce in cost, they were actually also able to cut a line. So instead of 3 lines, they're actually doing, or 3 shifts rather. Instead of doing 3 shifts, they're now doing 2 shifts. So they can produce the same amount of vehicles with 1 fewer shift. So this saves a significant amount of money. So yeah, so due to the retooling, it was obviously expected. So I'm not concerned about that at all. They had to do that. So here's some of the other improvements that Rivian is doing. They're making improvements to their drive units to reduce costs by 47%. That's actually going to be, I believe, for the R3 model. So yeah, Rivian to report critical Q2 2024 earnings. And they reaffirming path to positive Q4 24 gross profit. So here's the thing: is Rivian is promising by the end of this year in Q4 to be gross profitable. They are currently significantly gross negative, but with this retooling. With this retooling, they're hoping to be gross profitable by the end of this year. So they got 2 more quarters to become gross profitable, and that's their promise. So yeah, right now you can actually see the improvement from Q1 to Q1 23 to Q1 24, an improvement of 42% in gross loss. And by Q4 24, by end of Q4 24, look at the E, don't forget the E, they're hoping to be positive gross profit. So that's the thing there. And there's a couple of factors involved in this. One's variable costs, material costs, fixed costs, depreciation, labor and overhead, LC, NRV. And one of the things that they're also doing is they're renegotiating their supplier contracts. So they're talking their suppliers into lowering their prices for Rivian, because Rivian's saying, hey, you know what? We've got the volume now. Let's get lower prices. The volume's higher, so we want to pay less per vehicle, essentially. So anyway, as you can see here, Rivian's loss per vehicle actually improved from Q3 2022 of negative $130,000 to $38,000 by Q1 of 24. That's last quarter. Okay, so what's expected? Rivian's expected to report, Wall Street expects a loss of $1.24 per share with $1.15 billion in revenue. Do we got anything else here? Here are some of the improvements from R1 Gen 1 to R1 Gen 2 to R2. Yeah, say that 5 times fast. Okay, so yeah, let's move on. So what else is happening is Rivian is preparing for the R2. And what they're going to do is they're suspending their Georgia plant. Their Georgia plant has been suspended to save costs. So what they're going to do instead is they're going to be producing the R2 in their normal plant, along with the R1. And this will save them a significant amount of money. And without this, they would probably go bankrupt. So this is a much needed effort also. So a couple of things about R2 is it's expected to be around $45,000 for a user end cost price. We'll see if they hit that. And they also promise that the R3 will be priced below the R2. So anyway, what else is recent-ish? This year essentially is Rivian and Volkswagen are one step closer to a $5 billion deal. And this was actually reported 1 week ago, so this isn't that old of news. This isn't that old. It's 1 week. Give me a break here. Give me a break. I can't cover Rivian every single day like some people. Okay, so anyway, what's going on here is obviously a while back, I think a quarter back, Volkswagen promised to invest $5 billion into Rivian and also set up a joint venture with Rivian to produce electronic components. So that's what's going on there. And of that $5 billion, Rivian has already recognized $1 billion. So there's $4 billion left to do. So right here. So the $1 billion has already been done, and that's VW took a minority stake in the company in the process. They're gonna form a joint venture, and then VW intends to invest an additional $4 billion in either Rivian or the joint venture by 2026. The two plan to develop technologies together, but in the short term, VW plans to make use of Rivian's existing technology platform. Both companies intend to release vehicles using technology developed in the joint venture during the second half of the decade, according to a statement. Rivian and Volkswagen expect the joint venture to be formed by the close of 2024 this year. So yeah, that's actually a significant help for Rivian, really. They need the money. They do need the money. So let's get into the numbers. Rivian releases second quarter 2024 financial results today, August 6th. So yeah, the key thing here is Rivian reaffirms all aspects of guidance for the year, and this includes gross profitability by the end of this year. So that is huge. I cannot emphasize how important that is. But keep in mind, though, that's gross profit. That is not net profit. So they're still going to lose money on the net side, but the gross side is a big boost to the company. And then obviously there's the Volkswagen thing. So yeah, let's go down a little bit. Okay, what does RJ Scringe have to say? He says, the second quarter has been a defining one for Rivian. We have demonstrated strong execution during the quarter with the plant retooling upgrade and the launch of second-generation R1 vehicles. The changes we've made to the R1 platform have allowed us to reduce material and manufacturing costs while simultaneously improving performance and capabilities. As a testament to our industry-leading technology stack, we also recently announced our proposed joint venture with Volkswagen. The technical workstream, I can't talk today, to prepare the integration of Rivian electrical architecture and software technology stack into Volkswagen Group products are moving along very well, and we expect to close this joint venture in the fourth quarter of this year. So again, a reaffirm, which is good. That's what you are right now, is strong execution and either improved or reaffirmed results. The output from our joint venture will see Rivian technology in vehicles all around the world, helping to create more consumer choices and speed up the transition away from fossil fuels. Sounds a little bit like Elon. During the second quarter, the company introduced and started deliveries of the second generation R1 vehicles. So the retooling is complete, and they're producing and selling vehicles on this new retooling, which is good. The new R1 includes hundreds of design, engineering, and performance upgrades. These upgrades were made while also realizing significant improvements throughout the vehicle, positioning the platform for long-term profitability. Rivian also introduced two new in-house motor configurations, the tri-motor and the quad motor. All motors on Rivian vehicles are now designed, engineered, and manufactured fully in-house. When compared against the first generation outsourced system, the new quad motor are significantly lower in cost, quicker, and provide superior range. Fantastic. Okay, so what do we got? Financial results. Revenues. Total revenues for the second quarter of 2024 were $1.158 billion, primarily driven by the delivery of 13,790 vehicles. Note that they delivered more vehicles than they produced, so their inventories are significantly down. Total revenues from the sale of regulatory credits were $17 million, so this $1.158 billion. What was expected? Yeah, again, don't forget to like and subscribe. So what was expected was $1.15 billion. So it's a meet, essentially, or you can consider it a beat if you want to round. Let's round. Let's call it a beat. Gross profit, Rivian generated negative gross profit of $451 million for the second quarter of 2024 as compared to negative $412 million for the second quarter of 2023. The cost of revenues for the second quarter of 2024 included $59 million, or approximately $4,300 per vehicle delivered in the second quarter, of costs we do not anticipate being part of our long-term cost structure. See, the thing is, this includes retooling costs. This was made up of $33 million in cost of revenue efficiency initiatives, primarily related to certain supplier liabilities incurred, and $26 million of accelerated depreciation associated with the updates made to our normal factory during the plant's retooling. So you're not going to see those going forward. Those are one-time expenses. So you got to subtract $33 million plus $26 million, which is $59 million. So anyway, yeah, $59 million. Hey, I can add. Oh my God. I am fantastic at math. I aced math. Not. Anyway, I just aged myself. Okay, so yeah, so the $59 million, if you include that and subtract that from the gross profit, they're actually better in gross profit this quarter than last year. So year over year, they're actually better in gross profit if you include, or if you subtract out the $59 million. Okay, total operating expenses in the second quarter of 2024 grew to $924 million as compared to $873 million last year. That's stock-based compensation, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so the net loss of the second quarter was $1.457 billion as compared to $1.2 billion for the same period last year. They've got... Okay, I'm going to go over that in a second. I have a couple thoughts there. I'll let you know in a second. Adjusted EBITDA was negative $860 million. Which is a match to last year. Capital expenditures were $283 million as compared to $255 million last year. Rivian ended the second quarter with $7.8 billion in cash equivalents, and short-term investments. Now, this includes the... so including a revolving credit facility, they actually have $9.2 billion of total liquidity. However, this includes the $1 billion of an unsecured convertible note issued to Volkswagen International of America. The second quarter... No. Okay, so yeah, it includes that note. So it's interesting that it's actually a note to Volkswagen. It's a convertible note, actually. So they're going to be paying interest to Volkswagen on this $1 billion until it converts into stock, which I wasn't expecting initially. They didn't mention that. They mentioned it's just a stock purchase. They didn't mention an unsecured convertible note. So one thing to note is the $7.867 billion. Look at it quarter over quarter. Q1 2024, Rivian had $7.86 billion in cash. This quarter, $7.87 billion in cash. So they literally spent that $1 billion this quarter. So that extra $4 billion going at this run rate will last them 4 more quarters. But again, they're reducing costs. So that's not quite fair because they are reducing costs. Okay, so anyway, this is the balance sheets. So as you can see here, the cash and short-term equivalents, which we actually just mentioned. And anything else of note is the inventory. Okay. So I'm just looking at this really quickly. I don't see anything too special there. Okay, so for the statement of operations, you got $1.158 billion, as we mentioned, and the cost of revenues was $1.6 billion, for a gross profit negative $451 million, which we just mentioned, and a significant net loss. Okay, so the thing I was going to mention before is, even if Rivian becomes gross profitable, assuming these numbers stay the same, everything else being equal, if Rivian became gross profitable profitable this quarter in Q2, then you would obviously have to add back in the $451 million in negative gross profit to their net loss. So if you add that back in, they're still losing about $1 billion per quarter, as we just noted right here. Volkswagen invested $1 billion, and they basically broke even on a cash basis with that $1 billion investment. Again, there's $4 billion to come. Part of it's going to be in the joint venture, part of it's not. We don't know the breakdown yet. But yeah, even after this, it's basically a race. Rivian's on a race right now. So the R2 is promised to be delivered in the first half of 2026. So Rivian needs basically to last until that ramps to a full ramp. And currently they're losing about $1 billion per quarter, assuming that they get gross profitable by Q4 of this year. So that's about $1 billion per quarter, and they have $7.87 billion in cash, plus up to $4 billion more coming in from Volkswagen. So can they make it to 2026? I'm not completely sure yet. I do not know. So let's continue on. What else do we have? So down here, remember, is $1 billion in the convertible note. You can see that right here. Convertible notes, $1 billion from Volkswagen. Actually, it's a decrease from from the previous 6 months in 2020. 6 months ended June 30th, 2023. So it's an improvement from last year. Everything else looks there. And yeah, going to here, Rivian reaffirmed their 2024 annual guidance of 50,000 total units of production, negative $2.7 billion in adjusted EBITDA, and $1.2 billion in capital expenditures. So everything's reaffirmed. So I give this report sort of a mixed grade. It's kind of what we expected because they already released their deliveries. So I give it like a C because we expected most of these results. So Rivian's goal right now is to stay afloat until they can ramp the R2. No, please note, they have to not just release the R2, they have to ramp it. It's going to take 12 months to ramp that vehicle. So if they start production first half of 2026, it's actually going to take them until the first half of 2027 for it to ramp. So they need to survive until early 2027 on their current cash amounts, plus the future investments from Volkswagen. So they're probably, I think, going to have to get more money from somewhere. I think they're either going to have to sell more stock or take out a loan or get some cash in somehow, I think. But the better question is, what do you think? What do you think of those results? What do you think about how Rivian's doing? What do you think about the VW investment? What do you think about the R2 coming out? Yeah, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.